Well, good morning. My name is Mark Roberts. I'm the chairman of the Aerospace Power Association, and it gives me enormous pleasure to welcome you to this conference. I hope the conference will be slightly different from other space conferences that you've attended. We've tried to make it less about preaching, less about presentations, and more about conversation. So please do engage. There will be, during the various sessions, there will be mics roaming the room. But if you would prefer to use technology, then please use Slido. You need the code DS23, cunningly. And if you need to get to Slido, there will be a QR code on the screen during those sessions. And you can also get to it via page 5 of the brochure. So please do engage. The sessions will be very boring if you don't. I would like to offer my thanks. I'll be doing it again later today, but I offer my thanks to those in the background who've done a tremendous amount of work to bring this conference together. The team at Space Command, the team at the Freeman Aerospace Institute, all of our partners, sponsors, and our friends in the media, and also my own team, which is quite small but perfectly formed in the background, who've pulled this together. Thank you all very much indeed. Finally, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our moderator for the day, far better than me, listening to my droning voice. And that is our esteemed broadcaster, presenter, and financial analyst, Susannah Streeter. Susannah, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mark. And I'm really looking forward to welcoming Mark back to join some of the panel discussions a little bit later today. So yes, welcome to the 4th Defence Space Conference in partnership with UK Space Command. Now, this really is the UK's premier primary platform for really sharing and shaping what we want to talk about as far as the UK space domain is concerned, particularly to do with strategic thinking and operational delivery. And once again, we have brought together senior UK government officials, international military commanders, leaders of industry, academics, and also leaders in disruptive technology from the UK and overseas. So we really do have a packed agenda for you today. We're going to be looking at how best to deliver the national space strategy by collaborating together with government agencies, industry, and defence. We're also going to delve into the latest innovations in the pipeline and how growth really can be unlocked in the space sector, I should say. And we're going to examine diversity in space and why the diverse space workforce is absolutely crucial in delivering the best security outcomes. And we're going to be looking at the best ways of attracting and retaining staff in the UK space workforce, which of course is essential if we want to propel all of these innovations forward. So to set the scene, please do welcome Air Vice-Marshal Paul Godfrey, who's going to lay out a little bit about what is in front of us. Welcome, Paul.
Good morning, everyone. I've got actually a question first. What on earth is Tyche doing on the stage? Where's Phil? Shouldn't that be in some sort of testing, getting ready for launch? I don't think we're in a clean room. It is fantastic to be here again at this year's Defence Space Conference, which you'll note is only a day. We've done it 2 days over the last few years, but we have just had, clearly most of us, I recognise an awful lot of people in the room. There's probably most people that I've met in the last 3 years in the room here, but we were in Belfast just a couple of weeks ago for the UK Space Conference. But amazingly, it was 18 months ago, it was over 18 months ago that we were last in here at the Defence Space Conference. UK Space Command was just over a year old, well into our terrible 2s at that particular point. But now approaching our 3rd year, we are definitely onto the solid food. Some thanks first to Roberto, to Clive, and the team at the Air and Space Power Association, Catherine, Debbie, Kate, and Carol as well. These things do not organize themselves, and they've just done some outstanding work. To the IET for what is all, I've spent half of my life on this stage in this particular job, but it is an amazing venue, and we're so glad to be able to get it. To the UK Space Command team, to Charlie, to Serena, who has departed, and to Steve, who's taken over from her some big shoes to fill on that particular front. And finally, to Susannah, who does, as Roberto mentioned, bring some much needed professionalism to the stage that clearly we can't match. Last year's conference, as I say, was held in amazing this, just 3 months after the illegal and unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. And it was a valuable opportunity for us to discuss operationalizing the space in what I know it was VCDS, Gwyn Jenkins, who'd mentioned that this, and I think a lot of people have taken it on, is a dangerous decade. And so it does seem a long time ago. And just to jog your memory, we did discuss the operationalization of space, difficult for me to say, the evolution of UK Space Command, defense, is role in implementing the National Space Strategy, and we'll get an update today, international collaboration on space and delivering science and technology to unlock next generation capability for the Ministry of Defense. So 19 months later, it's more important than ever for us to engage and learn from each other and discuss the challenges that we've seen in what is a rapidly changing defense space landscape. I mentioned many of us were in Belfast, one of the most significant events in the UK's space calendar. And I'm really glad that we are also joined today by the UK Space Agency team, who were the prime sponsor of that event a couple of weeks ago, and our partners in delivering the National Space Strategy. Today is an opportunity to have a deeper dive into the defense matters that we discussed when I chaired badly, you'll be glad to know, Susannah, a plenary session in Belfast with representatives from Australia, Canada, France, Germany, Australia, and I said them twice, and New Zealand, underscoring the crucial need for working with international partners. Slightly less of an international engagement today as we get close to Christmas, and you'll see in a second why, as we had a big get-together in Berlin last week. So we were there last week for what was, as a biennial combined space operations forum principles board, and several like-minded space-faring nations from defense, primarily UK, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, France, and Germany. But last week, it was made significantly stronger as we were joined by new members from Italy, Norway, and Japan. And as I looked around the conference room last week, I could see just how important that group had become with 10 spacefaring nations, member states in the room. And General Saltzman mentioned in his opening remarks last week that coming together as an allied coalition is the asymmetric advantage that countries like Russia and China just cannot hope to match. And today, we've brought some of the leading minds, that's you guys, in the space industry to discuss, as Susannah mentioned, a few of the critical things that we're facing. Firstly, delivering that national defense or national space strategy together. It underpins everything that we're trying to achieve in the United Kingdom as we strive to become a meaningful actor in space. Its goals require a shared endeavor across the entire UK space ecosystem. Well, it's so great to see all of you in the room today. The strategy is over 2 years old. You'll have seen the National Space Strategy and Action document that came out just a couple of months ago, and we're keen to hear your thoughts. It is about engagement. It's about telling us what and how we can do things better. After that, we'll discuss collaboration and innovation with industry. You guys are key to unlocking the UK space potential, but turning innovation into capability remains a challenge. I think we all know that. It's vital that we engage with each other open and honestly, and that's the big thing. It's the trust, it's the openness, and it's the honesty, and how we can improve the ways that we work together. Certainly, we have not got this right in UK Space Command, but I think all of you know that we are trying to bring some agility to the system, and we're trying to get together with all of you. And we can only do this through a conversation with everyone in the room. In the afternoon, we'll discuss diversity. We all know how rapidly the defense context is changing, much more rapidly than we'd considered even 6 months ago, and how rapidly the space domain in itself is evolving, especially the cutting-edge space technologies that are being developed across the sector. Now, groupthink, driven by a lack of diversity, is one of our worst potential enemies. And our panel will address why diversity is so important and what we can do to improve it. Then we'll look at the workforce challenge that we all face. One of our most pressing challenges is attracting, developing, and retaining the UK space workforce across the commercial, government, and military space sectors. And it's critical that we share our ideas and experience to attempt to address this challenge that I was reminded last week. We do not face this challenge alone. All 10 nations in that room last week in Berlin share the same challenges across not only the space sectors, but a number of other sectors as well. And finally, you'll get to hear from me again, you lucky people, as I reflect on the Space Command journey so far and how we might look in 10 years' time. Avril Jolliffe from the Ministry of Defence made an excellent point when she opened the with the UK's comments in Berlin last week. She had been speaking with a group of 17 to 18-year-olds. And she made the point to them that they are the generation that have never had a day without humans in space. And their children may be the generation that never have a day without humans on the moon or Mars. Just consider that. And I thought that was a really, really stark comment in terms of how quickly we are evolving in space. But then we'll have a final panel after that before a reception upstairs where we can have those face-to-face conversations that we don't often get to do because of the tyranny of the diary and the fact that my team are trying to kill me by trying to put too much in there on a daily basis. That's my fault, not the team's fault. So the challenges we face are significant. We should all be proud of how far we've come. With every passing year, the UK's status and reputation in space is growing, and it was abundantly clear last week amongst those 10 nations as we participated in a tabletop exercise that was a scenario set in 2026, an escalatory scenario in space, you can imagine, that is a real possibility. But it was clear the UK has a respected voice amongst the international community and is already, and has been for a while, adding real value, which was excellent to see. Finally, I'd like to thank the sponsors of the Defence Space Conference 2023, and again to ASPA, through Roberto and the team who've made today possible. A huge thank you to all of you for your time and effort in coming here to attend today. Please engage, please ask questions. Back to the Slido point again. I stopped the panel in Belfast a couple of weeks ago until we got the first questions in. It seemed to work, so maybe Susannah can do that again. We'll just sit in silence until we get a question. Because we want to make today as valuable as possible for everyone in this room. You're not just listening to us, we want to engage in that conversation. And with that, I'll hand back to Susannah for the first session of the day on space strategy. Thank you and have a great day.